Hello, hello, hello. This is my take on the present crisis that's going on in Egypt. And it's very surprising. During all this, the army has been portrayed as with the people. The corruption side of the national ruling party has been said and repeated by the people. And the people saying, oh, how great the army is and how it stands with the people. And everybody is forgetting that the corruption of the Mubarak regime, the army itself is probably one of the biggest corrupt institutes in Egypt. It is even more corrupt than the national ruling party. You just have to look at all the army generals and high-ranking officers in Egypt. They are big, 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 huge thieves. Each one of them has uh, put his hand on property of the state, land, huge pieces of land, and they took it. They just took it. They said it's ours, right? And Hosni Mubarak allowed them to do so quite freely, and those people were able to make millions upon millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions from this. That's one. Secondly, the Egyptian army is so corrupt that whoever comes into this new government and takes over, the Minister of Finance is going to have to, shuffle the books and see where they can get some money for development, for the new, for employing people. And the first thing he's going to look at the biggest item in the national budget, which is the military budget. A huge amount of money, right? A huge part of the Egyptian national GNP goes to the army, right? And the army are thieves. Everybody is taking from that budget for himself. You got people who are in charge of, supplies, food, you name it. All the contracting companies that supply Egyptian army, everybody has got his hand in the till. Everybody. Those generals and those high-ranking officers you see, right? They have forgotten. Yes, they accused the army. Yes, it won the October War and everything, and they were heroes. But that was the old army. Now those guys have stayed on, and they are extremely rich, and they made sure that the new army is nothing, right? Just postcards, in the desert here and there. You know, they go and take nice courses in the United States of America, and the Mubarak sends them over for holidays over there. Their kids get special treatment. They get special treatment housing. They got buildings built for them so they can live comfortably without having to struggle too much. The Egyptian army is more corrupt. It is that is why Mubarak stayed so long for 30 years. It's not just the Hizb al-Watani that was stealing the country. No, it was Mubarak's army, the army that won the October War. I hope, somebody talks about this later because this has been hidden. And I'm not talking out of my ass. I know what I'm talking about. I know people who served in the Egyptian army for 5, 6, 7 years. I had actually two couple of friends in Egypt who served 7 years. After they did the national service for 2 years, they decided on, okay, let me stay. I can't get a job outside. I'll just stay in the army. And one of them worked at the army gas depot, where they fill the stations for the military cars and stuff like this. It's a gas station only for the military. And the guy, the big guy with the big birds here and stars here on his, the big officer who's in charge of this, right? There's a group of like 20 people who are in charge of this, right? It was a big operation. They stole millions upon millions upon millions of money from pumping gas and writing down, that they were pumping 50 gallons of petrol in this car and they were actually pumping 30 gallons or 20 gallons. The rest just went outside in the market and they sold it, right? They sold it at retail price in another, private gas station that they owned themselves. Unbelievable, but it's true. The people should have been in this revolution, you see. They said, oh, the Egyptian army is not firing at people because it loves the people, it's this, da da da. No, that's not the case. The Egyptian army itself is frightened because they will be exposed very soon when somebody honest takes over that they were part of that corruption. An example of this, not only Mubarak, people might think that Mubarak went out, people want him out because of the, bad economic situation and this and that. No, it is because of his surrenderist attitude towards the Arab problem. You God damn it, the Palestinians are being murdered every day. Planes and tanks of Israelis shooting there, and the guy just says nothing. He actually apologizes for them, right? He's defending them. He doesn't stand for anything. He just forgot the whole thing because he's got 70 billion fucking dollars that he managed to rip off from the poor people of Egypt for 30 years. 70 frigging billion in a country that is so fucking poor. You gotta wonder where the fuck did he bring the money from? Final say on this. This isn't a government that we had for 30 years in Egypt. Uh, it's actually very akin to a mafia. It's like the Gambino family. It takes over a city like New York City. It takes over the garbage, the garment district, the cement pouring, the steel, you name it. It's got its finger in everything. The same thing with Mubarak and the his party, his ruling party. Those guys just divided up the country and made companies to take the resources of the country into their own private businesses, and then it's like a monopoly. I mean, look at this guy who's called, the king of steel. He's the only one who's allowed to fucking sell steel, building steel, in Egypt. That makes you extraordinarily fucking rich. Everybody's got to buy steel from him. What a joke. I mean, I don't only blame Mubarak for this. I blame the Egyptian people. You guys have been fucking sleeping for 30 frigging years, right? Never did a thing. It's your fault for letting it go on this long. And about the ruling, those guys that bring the kids to be kings after them, I tell this to every single Arab country right now. Syria, you can't just make your kid, president after you leave. The same thing with the Saudi royal family, who have, ripped off the country. I don't want to say how much, but those guys, it's a joke. It's the ultimate fucking rip-off in the history of the world, right? Those guys have got like $2 trillion. $2 trillion that belongs to one fucking family. We have unemployment, we have bad management of the country's resources in Saudi Arabia. We have everything you can imagine. This is not a mafia. This is even, it teaches the mafia how to do it, right? I mean, if there ever was a corrupt regime, the corrupt regime of Saudi Arabia is the most corrupt on earth. King Abdullah might have good intentions and he's a good man, but one good man is no good when you are surrounded by fucking 1,000 rats. And that's what's wrong with Saudi Arabia and our government. That's one thing. The resources and the wealth of the country has been taken over and shoved into the pockets of royals and royal princesses and all the hangers on and all those rich corrupt people like the Bin Laden group, and you got the other guy like Saleh Kamel and all those rich sheikhs. Those guys, one day they are going to be taking this money and bringing it back to the people again. Finally, I'd like to say to the people of Syria, it's time to rise against your rulers, orderly, just tell them to leave so the country is not destroyed. Same thing with Jordan, tell them to leave so the country will not be destroyed. The people of Saudi Arabia, we will know how to handle our rulers to make sure, right, that they hand over the country to al-umana الشرفاء. نريد حكم الأمناء الشرفاء. ليش ما نقدر يعني نحققه؟ البلاد الثانية في العالم كلها زي كده. يعني المسيحيين والغرب أحسن منا 100 مرة. كيف؟ الموظف بيدخل الحكومة بيصير رئيس 4 5 سنوات بيتوكل على الله عايش على راتبه ما اغتنى ما سوى مليارات. ليش احنا ما نكون زي هدول الناس؟ هذا واحد. ثاني شيء، حكام اليمن حرام عليكم. الشعب اليمني يعني هذا شعب فقير جدا، والحكام هم يعني ما يجوز 43 54 نفر، نفس الشيء ثروة في جيوبهم. وعندك سكان الخليج نفس الحاجة، ملوا البلد، والسعودية ملتونا البلد، باكستان وبنغال، خليتونا أقلية في بلدنا. البلاد هذه تستفيد من ثرواتنا احنا من غير ما احنا نستفيد من ثرواتنا. طلعوا هدول الأجانب الغير العرب برا البلد، الأندونوس والباكستان والهنود والبنغال. هدول الناس زي الجراد، شايف كيف بياكلوا ثروات البلد، بياخذوا وظائفنا، بياخذوا أعمالنا، بيستهلكوا مستشفياتنا ومدارسنا، وبيستهلكوا كل آه، المرافق الثانية، وبيخلوا المناطق اللي هم عايشين فيها زبالة. زبالة. برا طلعوهم هذول. هذه احنا بلدنا، احنا حرين في بلدنا نقول مين يدخل وما مين يدخل، مش انتوا. وحكام سوريا خلاص يا اسد، كفايه كذا، جلست على بلدك 40 سنه والارض حقتك متاخده الجولان، وما حركت صباع ولا شبر واحد تحاول تاخذ ارضك بالقوه ابدا. لا، جالس يا اخويا ومطمن على عرشك، وخلي اسرائيل تجلس في الجولان. ها، مش مشكله، المهم حيسيبونا في حالنا ويخلونا احنا. هذا غلط. تاخذ ارضك بالقوه، ما فيش مفاوضات، تروح تحارب لك كده كم يوم زي ما حزب الله حاربوا وعرفوا علموهم الدرس. نفس الشيء انت عايز لها ثقه، عايز لها رجل شجاع. هذول اللي نحتاجهم، الشجاع. الامناء الشرفاء لو موجودين هم هذول اللي عندهم الشجاعه، لأن الشجاعة ما تجي إلا إذا واحد أمين وشريف، مش لواحد ملياردير حرامي نصاب. وبعدين عندك طبعا الجزائر والمغرب، أو خصوصا المغرب. هذا ملك المغرب رجل ظالم، رجل غني جدا، ملياردير هو وأسرته وأولاده وأولاده وأولاده. هذا غلط. وشعب اليمن، شعب هذول فقراء. والجزائر نفس الشيء، هذول جنرالات حكام متعاونين مع فرنسا، فاكرين فرنسا هتحميهم، في الاخر هترميهم زي ما رمت حسني مبارك وزي ما رمت باقي الرؤساء. واقول نصيحه لجميع حكام العرب، يا جماعه الامريكان هذول ما نقدر نتطور ونقدر نحمي نفسنا وندافع عن حقوقنا من غير ما نلجا اليهم. هذول الناس، الامريكي يا جماعه وجهه زي طيزه، ها، يوم معاك يلا يلا معاك، ها، ولما تقلب عليك صار يصير ضدك في ثواني. فاحنا مفروض نعقل، وخلاص شفناهم، ومفروض نكون عرفناهم واخذنا عبره منهم وغيرهم اللي قبلهم اللي حكموا. لكن ما فيش فايده. الحاكم يجي بيكون فقير فجاه صار عنده مليارات، يا ريت يعني 1 مليار و2 مليار و3 مليار، لا، لازم يكونوا 70 و80 90 مليار. واقترح على اي حكومه تيجي بعد كده واي رئيس يمسك دوله ان احنا نديله الشعب كادو. خد يا عمي هذا المليار ليك، امسكه، هذا هديه من الشعب ليك، بس ارجوك ما تسرقش وما تمسكش بقى اي حاجه تانية بعد كده. وكل وزير يجي نديله نفس الحاجه، كل واحد 100 مليون دولار، ها، كادو هديه من الشعب، عشان الوزراء هذول يخدموا بضمير وما يطلوش لممتلكات الدولة وثروة البلد ويوزعوها بينهم وبين عوائلهم وأولادهم، وتروحوا يفسحوا في كان وفي نيس على اليخوت، ها، والناس قاعدين في البلد، في ناس مش لاقيين ياكلوا، ها، مرضى ومش لاقيين مستشفيات وحالتهم حالة و... والفقر بطال. ولما يصير الفقر بيولد، ها، اللي احنا شايفينه دحين، ثورة الجياع. أهل البروج دحين صاروا ضد أهل الجوع، ها، أهل الحجور. أهل البروج لما يطيحوا أهل الحجور حياكلوهم ويستحقوا الأكل، لأنهم نصبوا ونهبوا وما كان عندهم ضمير وما كان عندهم دين ولا ولاء للوطن ولا ولاء لأي مبدأ أبدا سوى الدولار الأمريكي. الدولار الأمريكي علاهم فوق